the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys, always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys, fight for the liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys, stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys, high on the liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys, it will be as strong as we. We must cling to our faith, boys, faith in the liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12-gauge autoloader,
Sure.
the 45 long slide
Yep.
with laser sighting,
You betcha.
the Uzi 9mm,
Yes, sir.
phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay. They'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you to always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. Permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper, so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm, so they could burn down churches and seize the family men of God in jail. Harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn. And your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. Pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep, and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you. God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Kornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and south. Ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, and we are on AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and Ultra Net Hallmark and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, along with CONUS, the outlying 2 states, the territories, and the clock. Somewhere it is midnight, somewhere it's midday, but right now it's 5:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Liberty Tree Radio, the bottom of the state of Michigan, the southeastern corner there. Anyway, it is Monday. It is the 17th of August. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K, 2020, Old Earth Calendar, 2020, year of conflict, year of betrayal, and the Dance of Swords. Congratulations. Anyway, Monday, all kinds of stuff happening over the weekend, a lot of it good. Check those estate sales out. I got buckets of perishables this weekend for nothing. Had a really good time going from yard sale to yard sale, estate sale, etc. And I came across, we came across tools, chucks, bits, paddle bits, replacement blades for different saws, coping saws, all kinds of specialized stuff that, man, if you went out and bought this, I checked. You're talking hundreds of dollars just for a little package of blades. Well, not a little package, there were 10, 15 blades into one. It was minus what was supposed to be official count, but it was like $200 and some for the package, and it was part of the $5 bucket I picked up. in addition to taps, pins, reset wrenches, backset and like step wrenches for getting into tight spaces, stuff that I wouldn't go out of my way, until I needed it to buy. But when you have it on the shelf, you don't have to go out and buy it. You have to try and find it. It's out there where you need it. So guys, scour the system. We are looking for ways to build a bigger, better, and happier Patriot manufacturing base. The perishables and those unusual tools are what are going to make the difference, because they're not that unusual, and you realize you really do put them to work and you need them, okay? So it is something that you definitely want to invest in. And I think that's the most critical aspect of what we're dealing with here is, in the long run, is going to be the perishables. So we're already looking at manufacturing drills, and we have a couple of different machine bases, machine plants, that we've already purchased components from. Everything that we need to, we can buy from everything we need we can buy machine-wise to get it done. But it's, again, far more specialized technology. And so it's one of those things where it takes a lot more to get the job done than the average bear. But once you've got the tooling, remember, the machines that make the machines are the foundation for all of your production and manufacturing. So we're prioritizing that. But in the meantime, like I said, we need all of the quantity and mass we can get our hands on, and we are going to make a point of utilizing all of it to the best of our ability. In fact, we're already doing that. But when the time comes, oh yeah, we'll have it all squared away and ready to go. So it has been a very busy weekend. Otherwise, I want to say hi to our friends who are up there at the Camp Fox facility. I understand that we had some friends that came in from Wisconsin. They probably came across from the bridge side, I assume, from the Upper Peninsula. They did bring some of our friends from the far western part of the Upper Peninsula to visit and train this weekend. Good weather, wet to a degree. Hey, training exercises, there is no such thing as bad weather, but good training weather. Give everybody a chance to practice what we preach. And so I want to say hi to our friends from, the 52nd Colonial Marine Regimental Combat Team elements, and also, hold on here, I think the 16th or 17th Regimental Combat Team Colonial Marines, Service Support Unit, Mechanized and Service Support Unit, so cool. Anyway, you guys did a great job. I understand. I got some of the pictures. I got a chance to see some of the stuff you were doing. One of the things this weekend that were coming up there was night orienteering without technology. That is a priority. You got to have the base before you get to the rest. So just a heads up there. Otherwise, needless to say, the riotlets in Portlandistan, or in Oregon, whatever you want to call it, the Oregon SSD, Soviet Socialist Democracy, proceed. And of course, it's been an up and down rise and tide of government forces, which I think is rather fascinating, because it turns out the state was there to support the feds. They were there to help the feds to make things happen. And what's interesting is that they backed off, but not for the reason you might think. Well, of course they were helping to bust people to a degree. I mean, what limited degree the commies allow in the bureaucratic end. But what is fascinating about this is that they backed out because of money with regard to revenuing through the courts. It turns out that they were busting people and they were locking them up, and the prostituters, the communist prostituters in government out there, won't prosecute, and so they finally decided that since they're not getting their cut in the revenue and they're not getting any money back, so to speak, they pulled out the Oregon State Police in the process. Now, I've told you before, this is a mercenary operation. Most people don't realize how important it is for that funding to come from the court and be subdivided back out to the, doled out to all the different parasites that have their hand in your wallet. But it is fascinating that, again, they just felt, well, we're just spinning our wheels. Well, no, you're not. You stopped them while you were there. Wasn't your mission really just to stop them from burning down the town or destroying the federal building or whatever it is you were there for, right? Whatever the excuse? You should be happy that you're doing that. Okay, so the same bunch are in front of you the next day. It's like Groundhog Day, right? You're the guy that keeps waking up, same little groundhog, real woodchuck slash, chippies show up every time. You beat them down, you handcuff them, you put them in the lockup, they get out the next day. They would have got out probably anyway, but they're able to come back and they're not being charged or whatever, so they can just keep riding and riding and re-riding and riding some more because it's good for you, okay? So you tell me what's going on. It's like, so the state police have come in, backed out. Apparently they might be coming in again, only because apparently the governor's kind of pissed that I believe they made that decision on their own. That's another thing. Remember, this is where we're starting to see some interesting cracks in the machine. Because the governor is, the state police are the imperial guard for the state as of the War Powers Act, per the War Powers Act, forgive me. And most state police did not exist until the federal government betrayed the American people and declared us all enemies of the corporation. When they did that, all of the governors cooperated and signed on to the betrayal and the indentureship of the American people. In the process, they permanently mobilized one of what was typically the state's guard, which was like a governor's guard unit, and made them state police, which you're not supposed to know about. And I just gave you a trade secret you weren't supposed to even hear about from anybody, and you never will. So understand that when they say you have no rights, et cetera, the state police are conditioned with all of this BS because as spit-swapping, ring-knocking yarmulke wearers, okay, oh yay, those lodge buddies, they all know exactly how they're betraying you. But now there's still supposed to be honor amongst those thieves. And so there's a split going on. The governor's office wasn't fully informed, supposedly, and so the governor, of course, was incensed only because, well, wait a minute, we could get our finger on the goodies, even though they're giving lip service to the communists in the process, and the governor is obviously a communist anyway. So they're feigning confusion, feigning. Notice I didn't say that we'll believe any of their BS, because that's exactly what it is. Remember, they want federal money. They all are government. Okay, these are every step of the way. The locals are government parasite, big tit suckers. The state police are big tit suckers. Hell, the counties are typically big tit suckers. And all of these characters want the money to still keep coming in, and that's where kind of Trump is involved because, he can pair and, deny funding by simply disavowing to sign on the dotted line. And there are a whole bunch of ways they can retard the movement of currency. And in the situation now where they've really cut the economy no slack, especially with the regular people, the average guy like you and me, what's happened now is that we have a whole system that has been crippled. There's been no creative revenuing. As they get what they want, but they don't get what they want, they thought they wanted to run all these little businesses under. But that's where the lion's share of their real cash capital comes in. And I'll tell you why. Let's not forget something. See all those big businesses out there? They get all kinds of special deals to come into your community. They get, they negotiate coming in. What that means is that you don't have the power to do it, but they get cut slack on taxes, they get additional road service, there's anything and everything you can think of that is handed over on a silver platter to the big box companies that, by the way, hate America anyway and have been helping to betray us. Okay? So the real revenue, whatever cash digits were coming in, are coming in from the little businesses, the middle businesses, and the somewhat smaller big businesses that really didn't have any pull the way, Ayn Rand described in Atlas Shrugged. They don't have any pull peddling. They don't have any way they can buy, they can buy into certain groups, but they're on the fringe and always the first to be kicked from the cart, always the first to be kicked from the sleigh and eaten by the predators, be they wolves, bears, or whatever, when the time comes. So, this is not, these are cracks in the machine that they'll have to, they're going to have to suck things back up, bind them up with twine, whatever they're going to do to keep things running for a little bit longer. Because also it's only August, September, October, November. Now we're looking at less than 90 days to the shipwreck now, for all practical purposes. October is the federal money turnaround, and at that point, I don't know. We need to have a a betting pool. Do you think it's going to be $6 trillion that the Jewish mob gets this time? Because they're going to take as soon as they can. The next time they do whatever they agreed to as far as this fake arse, the support, BS, there's nothing about that. It's American. The chump change goes to the peasant idiotry. That's us. And the rest, trillions of digits are going to go, but with the press of a button, overseas to the Jewish mob in Haifa, Tel Aviv, and whatever. So is it going to be $6 trillion, $7 trillion? Do you think they'll try to really pilfer the bank and go for an $8 trillion hit in digits? I mean, I'm really figuring they're going to go high rather than low. They got to steal it, and they're going to laugh their ass off, and they're going to unzip their pants and pull out their circumcised weenie and shake it in your face and laugh about it because you stupid goyim are letting them steal everything. Why? And they're going to be laughing their ass off about it in the process. They'll be dancing in the streets over there, which they do, but you're not supposed to see. So, in the process, what we need to understand is that's the currency, that's the digits that should have stayed in the system. Now, it used to be we'd be doing this locally, and then at the state, the county and the state, and it would never get to the Fed. But we've completely flipped the system over on its ear, so the checks and balances are gone. People were not spending money because they were all idiots, like the idiots wearing the masks that, you need to be, we get into the international this and the international that. Well, progressively then the market and option choice here gets smaller and then in many cases non-existent. We've got stinking German and Chinese companies that are operating a lot of the construction, well, especially at the Fed end, because they know how to rub each other's butt properly, and I'm sure their little bungholes greased up accordingly. But these characters definitely are they bought and paid for the prostitute whores in government, and they waddle right across the border with impunity, just like Soros's clique. It's not just George Soros we want shot. We're going to have to hunt down. It's Soros's minions, including the second and third generation out, that are the ones actually doing the dirty deeds and are moving the money inside the United States. Okay, including buying off these dirty whore prostitutes that are in D.C. Now, in October, that's when we hit the shoals. That's when the bottom of the boat gets scraped right out and down to, ripping out the keel. There's not going to be any forward motion. There's going to be kind of a stagger point there. They will do everything to create all the pickle, smoke, and mirrors that they can with the BS of the election, okay? BS. There'll be a foghorn. You'll be hearing it while you're hitting the rocks. BS. But the crazy-eyed, weird captain will just keep telling you to, slide over them there shoals. Now, as you hear the crunch, crack, crackle, crackle, you're all supposed to get caught flat-footed. Well, we shouldn't be. Number one, make sure that you have only a percentage of your wealth in any banks. If you even choose to do that, and the banks at all, then good. You're in great shape. But whatever you do, it needs to be out in digits, and it needs to be in a form that you can spend, and plastic is not going to do it. Plastic is not going to do it. So it needs to either be converted into food, which we're doing every time. Every time we go to the store, there's a policy. Example is I try to get, when we go to the Dollar Tree, a couple of everything, and if there's certain things there that I've been waiting for them to restock, we buy it all. Don't even think twice. Another pallet, flat, let's say pallet, another flat or a couple of flats go in the cart because the stuff is not that regularly coming in, and if it's something I like, I'll tell you one I do like, Hormel chicken enchiladas. They're cheap. They're classic military MRE ration. They're 15-ounce cans. They're $1 a can. It's cheaper than any MRE you're going to buy. That's the way to go. Piss on whether or not you're worried about carrying cans. I'm laughing. Anybody's like, they're heavy. Well, you do a measure count on that. And by the way, remember, you're getting more food than you would in the MRE right off the bat. So it's going to be heavier. What's really interesting is a lot of the cans are pull cans. Now, if that is the case, let me point something out about shelf stable on that one. Prioritize using the pull cans first. Or, here's another idea, put them into your battle pack because you're going to be eating them when you're in the field. That's your ration right there. You may be trading and swapping and sharing with other people, but those pull cans are really great because you don't have to break out your P-38. I just put another P-38 in another combat rig, and I realized I need to buy another 100 of them. I went through 200. I put 2 per battle pack, per battle combat rig. I just went through the last today with 3 rigs I just put out to another militia. 3 chest pouches, 3 vests, 2 chest pouches, I only need to do 3. The vest systems are the ones that need to be fully outfitted, and I used up my P38s, so, oh, darn. So I've got to go dig up some more and some more lanyard cord. I have cord, just don't have any P38s to work with, so I got to make that work for me. Anyway, canned goods, and again, especially with the situation the way it is, anything is better than nothing right now. But again, be creative, pay attention. A lot of the stuff that's at Dollar Tree isn't being made in China right now. It's not coming in from China. It's coming in from South America, and some of it, or a lot more of it, is actually American canned. Now, we're into August, so another thing, if you're in all of the areas where there's good internal state food production, the upper part and the middle part of Ohio and the Midwest, Michigan, bottom of Michigan, western side of Michigan, go to your Dollar Trees and look to see what shows up. This is where I don't know how they make these deals, and I have no idea what their system is because it's mostly computer run, and the store owner or the store manager has no control over what he gets in the way of stock. None. Zero. You can order stuff online, but he can't do anything to order stuff in the store. It's whatever they send them, okay? So this time of year is when we start to see, and it's August 17th, a whole bunch of good stuff show up in larger cans, but also more unique product at Dollar Tree. Here's one of the most important things about that. This is all going to be fresh can cut. A lot of what you people are complaining about is, well, it's all closer to date, which really doesn't make any difference if you get it down and cool real fast. Guys, the shelf date expiration is BS. It was generated as an arbitrary date by some idiot stick in the Food and Drug Administration that could care less about any truth. Okay, so understand most of whatever they do is BS. They're pull peddlers. Pull peddler bought and paid for again. Now, in the northern part of Ohio, you're even going to see up to and including full quart-size cans and or jars, and you're going to see even number 10, which we call gallon cans of food show up for $1. If you pay attention, you'll notice it just came from the cannery. It's as fresh as you're going to get in a product. And strangely enough, it's at Dollar Tree. And strangely enough, the stuff is all not only American-made, but literally made right in your backyard somewhere.
Hey, Mark.
So this is a high priority with regard to acquiring and, putting on the shelf. Put as much of it on the shelf as you can. We got a caller. Who do we have?
Mark, just a little guidance on that canned food. 2 suggestions. When you're talking about the pull-type cans, you're talking about the one with the ring on top that you pull open, correct?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Do you have a concern about those being sealed or anything?
Yeah, I would say I would judge I'd read it this way. I've got stuff that's decades on the shelf. We've got canned goods we've actually experimented for a long time. It's not a super issue, but except that in the past they were heavier gauge, and I know that they're thinning out on the cans with the China cans coming in.
No, it wasn't a trick question. A lot of people have found that they have that, I don't know the terminology, but it's like a plastic liner inside that can.
Right.
And if it's just so everybody gets this, that stuff dries out, and since it's a pull type, not where you have to use a can opener, it'll start leaking around the pull top. Turn them upside down, they stay damp, they stay sealed. They'll last nearly as long as a regular can. So that's just a suggestion for people. And the other thing is, just open them up and vacuum pack them, make your own
MREs. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, that's just 2 suggestions.
A good point. One thing about that is, for instance, you have the traditional, and you still have them out there, the traditional corned beef cans. Now, those have the ham can type key with the zip ring around the outside. Now, you actually have to break the seal. They're simply a thinner material. And those we've actually kept on the shelf for a very long time. Very long time. And we have had maybe 1 can spoilage out of, say 2 cases where we've been keeping an eye on it. We watched, because the idea is it's a way to experiment. Of course, we want to die from it, but we haven't. So far we haven't died. But as far as the canned goods, the biggest thing, the concern with the zip top is, if most people don't think about that, but if we do look at prioritization, use the pull pin top faster, or sooner in your schedule, but also convert it or switch it over to your backpack combat load because it's already, ready to go. Another thing would be, a way to think about it is like this. If you have a certain amount of food that you're going to be using in the retreat, make up 2 inventories. One, full seal conventional cans. Now, there's 2 types of full seal cans. One has a can cap top and a can cap bottom. Both of those are applied in the same way with a rimmer, okay, with a rimming tool. The others, the newer ones, which I really love, are the bell type, which are actually a forged can. Now, guys, those make the best stinking grenades you could come up with. They make great smoke grenade cans. They make great, go right down the shopping list for any number of different projects. So one of the things about those is it's really nice to have those around. They are less likely to be compromised because they don't have but one seal end. And that is the top. Basically, that's the area you're going to open. Now, the disadvantage, if you have a re-rimmer, and this is what this does is it cuts off that lid, and it also rebells the lid, the can, so that you can literally buy can lids in whatever size can you have a lot of, and with a standard canner, you can use those cans for other products. Why do everything, or we've done everything you can imagine, from ammunition to beef sticks, which, by the way, we just opened up, what was it, the beginning of the season here, we opened up some of our 27-year-old beef sticks that were done over here on Territorial Road, and we canned them, of course, using the dry pack system, and I'll tell you what, they were fully edible. They didn't taste any different from when they were made. The reason we got them so cheap, we got them $1 a pound, is because the butcher didn't like the way the flavoring turned out, and he cooked them a little longer. He smoked them a little longer than he felt he should have, and they were a little drier, which was perfect for shelf-stable storage. In other words, fat wasn't all cooked out of them, but was compressed quite nicely. So those were an excellent solution with dry packing. Now, guys, you could make those up and do the same thing with a smaller head can. Would not have to be a number 10 / what you call a 1-gallon can. Could be done any size can you want, which means you've got dried meats or dried goods that you've packaged and CO2'd the can. And now you have an indefinite storage supply. It can be a combination of things. In fact, the cans themselves can have combinations of things. There's no restriction that you have one product in the can. So just a little heads up there. A lot of cool stuff that is readily available and can work for you. But the big thing here is we're planning ahead. And if you have let's say you have a retreat, your first inventory are the sealed cans that are the standard cans with no variants. The second is the zip cans. Put the zip cans into a Category 2 inventory. If you're going to be use those first. Or here's one of the things is that your quartermaster, your dietitian, whatever term you want to use, is going to, if anybody goes on patrols or outlying areas for support operations, or let's say for relief work, the Ziploc cans go with your patrol units. It's a matter of management, and guess what? One person's going to be in food management out there. You should be doing this. Everybody has more than one hat to wear, but you need to give people missions, and they need to become the masters of their trade in that particular area. So consider this. Can be mom, could be grandma. Why does that have to be mom? I mean, everybody goes, well, the old people, what can they do? What do you mean? Well, the old people have a whole lot of decades worth more data between their ears. And if you ask grandma to actually, or grandpa to help out in this way or other ways, grandpa needs a male job. Doesn't mean the quartermaster can't be a male job or a dietitian. But a lot of the ladies have more background experience. And I can't say that with all. I know some guys that are cooks and have been dietitians. But think about it that way. Guys, if we got dangly parts and plumbing's outside, we're fighters. So Grandpa's probably going to be more comfortable with, something that's more towards the battle axes and broadswords category. And it could be quartermaster support for tactical operations, not retreat support or logistic support for body maintenance and preventive maintenance, because that's something that we really need to divide. So it's one of those things where you guys got to figure it out. You figure out the system that's going to work for you. We got 50 states. We are a big stinking country. I'll guarantee whatever you come up with for your area and your idea is double plus good thumbs up. I'm not going to, there's no way in hell I could micromanage from Michigan 48 continental states and 2 outlying hangars. And then the territories, they're all even farther away. Michigan's big enough that with regard to certain activities, there is no possibility. There are recommendations like we're doing right now, but you guys are going to tweak based upon the real vast database that's out there. But here's the thing. This is what you need to do today, right now. Pick a system and stick to it and run with it. If you're taking notes of what we're talking about here, fantastic. And maybe it'll tweak your system, whatever you're doing. Or maybe it gives you better ideas. There's all kinds of really great ideas for, for instance, if you're starting right from scratch, there are some beautiful can management rack systems that are out there. Go take a look. They're all home builds. You can do this. You really can. And if you don't know how, you better learn to. Why? Because we are not insects. We're humans. We're amazing. We're generalists. We do if we're trained right. Right now, our country is failing because we made too many insects, and some of the insects don't know how to do jack squat. In fact, the only thing the insect knows how to do is be a parasite, and that is our problem right now. I had this conversation twice this weekend, short and long. The parasite problem is what's killing this country. And you take a look at these goofy Fruit Loop, nutcase, bug-eyed pieces of trash. We would either have already put them in a loony asylum, and what few should have been, most of them are drug-induced by the government, or they'd have been shot. In fact, especially the violent / frothing at the mouth crazy town ones that are dancing around like a bunch of cliff apes, they'd be gone, and should be, and really should be. I won't even hesitate to say that. They should be gone. How are you going to fix them? You're not. No matter what somebody tries to pull out of their arse, you're not. So, one of the other things that we are working at here, too, with regard to looking at food storage, remember, just as a crossbar, there's a lot of grain that's coming in right now that is, I would say, your preferred, best. You've got the best inventory of dried grain at Dollar Tree that we've seen ever. And the reason I say that is maybe 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago when Dollar Tree first came out, most of it was American, not all of it was Chinese. But progressively the Chinese, because of NAFTA and GATT, kicked everything else down and put it out of business. Right now, because of the lack of material support, a lot of the stuff, as I said, is coming out of South America. Not a problem. Uruguay, Paraguay, Chile, Brazil, those countries, Peru, there's even some stuff from Peru. It's in the legume category. Grab it. And I'll tell you, one of the things I've mentioned many times is that there is a possibility, if you're lucky, that in fact, it's highly probable, is that the material is going to be, the material is going to be, as we know, non-hybrid. And as a non-hybrid product, the great thing is that we're looking at a legume / it can be lentils, it can be beans, it can be chickpeas, whatever it is that's on the shelf, can be replanted, you just sent me something that made me go, yep, this is why you have to train people. And this is why training, if it's not there, really makes a difference. Oh, thank goodness for a helmet. John, you shouldn't do that to me during the program. I've seen it before, and I know how it hurts. Anyway, we have a priority here to get people squared away as quickly as we possibly can. We have to have solutions that are going to work, and especially with regard to food and material support, we're going to have to come up with better management systems. And real quick on storage with the legumes, I wouldn't take the stuff out of the existing bags. Instead, what I would do is put it keep in the original bags you've got, unless you want to vacuum bag it. And even then, I'd still leave the original bag, and then I'd compress everything in that, to be quite honest. There's a couple ways. If you got some really good rebag systems, I do behind me right now. As a matter of fact, that's something that I was just brought in from another location, some bags that came from an industrial food site that I am going to be using after we're done with the program until probably 2 or 3 in the morning. But with regard to repackaging on the beans, fastest, quickest way, find a large container that it can be made airtight. Ideally, these little, I'll tell you what you watch for. Go over to your Italian food services. You know, you got some place that sells a bunch of olives, or one of the Greek stores, if you got one, and ask them if they have any of those little, like, 3-gallon casks. They're orange. They typically have different breeds of olives that are shipped that way. They have a black cap, and they are sealable. Now, this is great because they're a little bigger, and you can fill them up with those legumes, those bags, and then just torque the lid down, and you're relatively safe. Now, if you want to go one step farther, throw some oxygen absorbers in on the top, or even, you know, as you go. Even though you haven't sealed this thing up, you're not going to, you know, pump out or vacuum anything. If you throw the oxygen absorbers in, and then you torque that lid down after you've filled it right up to capacity, throw some on the top too. That's pretty well going to kill most anything that's in there that's going to be a problem. Rice is not an issue for the most part with larvae, and I'll tell you why. Rice is already built with it's either talcum powder, yuck, or, and this is what most of the companies do, but they're, you know, so usually people do the propaganda and say, oh, look, you have talcum powder on it. Most of the rice crop that you buy, it doesn't matter what it is. It can be that Asian golden rice. It can be the, you know, if it's especially at the stores. Any of your white rice, any of your dry land white rice. What they did is they take a percentage of the crop and they grind it into a meal. You probably, maybe you've heard this, maybe you haven't. They then circulate that when it's in the final processing bins, so that literally there is a sacrifice layer over top of the rice. Have you ever heard this before? Now, what this is that in the event there were some weevil that got in there somehow, typically they're small, and they're going to go after the sacrifice dust instead of the main product. Note, have you ever washed your rice and paid attention to what floats? Oh, maybe. Now I'm going to make you a little, oh my God, my rice is dirty. Well, if you know anything about rice cookers, or anybody, especially the Asians, they will tell you this over and over again. That's one of their primary, it's a base of their cuisine, rice. When you rinse it, you'll notice floaties. They rinse it because they know that the product has been dusted, and because of that, what they're doing is they're washing off all of the protective, the protective dust, and whatever micro critter might be there that decided it could nibble on rice. There aren't that many things that will actually eat the rice. They may steal the rice. Mice are even good for this. But you'll notice that there doesn't seem to be very much of it consumed. They store it all over the place, but they just don't seem to eat it. Now, for whatever reason, it's not that it's poison. It's just, it's rather fascinating, and that's a story unto itself. Not getting into that. But most important, when you do get the rice, rinse it, dump it, use that's why you get all those little, those flour screeds, right? Sifters, guys. That's what you got the standard big pot sifters for. Pour the rice in there, wash it off. You can do that even just in the sink. Don't lose any rice, but you get rid of all of the protectant. Now, they do have, and some companies do use talcum powder. Or talcum powder is added to a degree. To whatever degree and what companies do it, no way to find out. I mean, unless you want to go search down the manufacturing site, you tell me. So let's just assume you should probably do a quick, wash, rinse on the rice, and then you do your soak or you do your cook, whatever you're going to do. We use rice cookers, and typically. And so again, when you get the stuff off the shelf, it's pretty well set to go. And if you just take the bags and get them into a container. Now, metal containers would be your first best choice because anything plastic, the critters can nibble through. However, I would point something out. A lot of the international cargo foodstuff transporters, especially if you see them in a color, probably have an outer layer sheath, kind of like the rice I was talking about, that is actually anti-rodent, anti-insect, anti-pest controlled. Not on the inside, it's on the outside. And this is part of the whole design of the container. So something to think about when you see food-grade international transport containers. Do a little research. Find out who made them if you can, and you can because they also want to sell them. But you'd be amazed at what you'll find out when you do a little research. So those little olive containers are actually pretty cool. And remember, you're carrying olive oil. They may be carrying olives in oil. They may be carrying olives in water, olives in vinegar, olives in any number of different slurries, et cetera, et cetera. And once you wash them out, hot wash them. Hell, even take them to the car wash initially and do a good spray on the inside with some steaming hot water and get them cleared out that way first before you take them home. Wash them out the rest of the way, stand them up, then start filling them up with bags of rice, bags of beans. Right now I do combinations. Everything I'm doing with regard to buckets and boxes I'm putting together have a combination. Every 5-gallon pail, it does not just have one item in it. I actually intentionally mix it up, and I'm not really careful about what I mix, except that I want to make sure there's some, like some sweet stuff in there, some legumes in there, some main courses in there, whatever's cheap. Let's put it this way. If you're going to get it from me, it's going to be cheap. I'm sorry. If you're going to complain about it, then go eat somewhere else where you can, well, that's right, you probably won't. You can. But the idea is that when I grab a bucket, if you were to throw it at somebody, it's like, here, take it, run. It's not everything, but it's most everything to keep you busy, and you won't have to worry about food fatigue, okay? Now, and one of the other items that I add into that, and right now with food storage, if you go over to Dollar Tree, Musselman's American canned pie fillings. They have cherry and they have apple, and they are the heaviest can you will find in a larger 15-ounce size can, if not bigger, depending on where you get them and which cannery it came from, of Musselman's, and they do have different sizes. They're $1 a can, and guys, think about what you get in a military ration. You get either peaches, applesauce. They don't do much freeze-dried anymore, but they used to. However, think about that apple filling as your fruit goodie item to put into the ration. That's a lot of goodie. Yeah, but you need calories, and you know what? What's really cool? Most everybody's going to eat that. In fact, they'll probably fight over who's going to eat that. So, consider that you also might have, in fact, will have some form of breads or stock that you can use. And amazingly, it's amazing what a field cook or a prison cook can make for you with a loaf of bread and some sugar, a little bit of sugar, even a little, not very much even, a little bit of salt. You got some spices, better still, and one of those cans of pie filling. Trust me, you'll think it was a pie when I'm done. Wow, give me a chance for the loaf of bread, and I can show you how to make a real pizza. And you really will be challenged, at least let's put it this way, in the field with all the improvised junk, you can do this. So another thing, and again, it's Musselman's, but it could be any other brand. I wouldn't care what brand it is. Cherries, apple, there's even some peach. Rather than going for the canned fruit, if the canned fruit is, well, go take a look at what it is and how, what the volume is. Then go take a look at the pie filling and look at that as your sweet goodie in your field ration. I'd be quite honest, those cans are so heavy and there's so much, and while granted you probably could be a little pigged down, if I were looking at it as a field ration, I'd say, okay, guys, I'm going to give you 1 for 2. Okay, one person, two of you, one person each eats half and the other person eats the other half, and you all get pretty squared away. You got a lot more calories. Granted, don't tell me I know. Those are sugar calories. Guess what? The government's been doing the same thing. And there still is a use for carbs in the field, despite what they say. If you're actually working your hind end off, if you're moving around the way you're supposed to, ain't nothing you're going to take in that's going to be unhealthy, because your body is going to use it all. In fact, your body's going to be wishing for more. If we keep you on any kind of strict diet, and again, if I throw that 1 can of Musselman's to you, you probably eat it all anyway. Everybody will just kind of divvy them up. But in the buckets, I only have a couple of those, 3, 4 of those, and then the rest is whatever, 20, 30, 40 cans of whatever food, a couple of 2-pound bags of rice, or a 2-pound bag of rice and beans, or some lentils or whatever. And congratulations, click, that gets shut. Now, whatever other items I can find that would be useful in the field, go in there if they're brand new. Let me give you an example. One of the things I put in those buckets, you go to any place where nowadays everybody's supposed to sit outside because it's horrible and dangerous for you to be inside. Well, they'll give you plastic silverware. It's in a plastic sealed container. Usually it comes with salt, pepper, and a little bit of napkin. Grab as many of those, put them in that bucket. wow, it's not critical. And if I didn't tell you to put a bunch of silverware, a bunch of plates, a bunch of, well, but on the other hand, it's that one time you need it and you got it, especially if you have to make the rations, stretch, and you're going to have one person managing that bucket. You may not use a couple of cans for a meal because you don't know how far you're going to have to stretch the food you got. That's where the rice and the beans and the legumes come in, like the lentils or the chickpeas. That's your food stretcher. You're going to get flavor and a certain amount of it. So there's first rule: learn to slow down. Take your time. Don't gobble. In other words, learn to chew. The reason you chew is the saliva breaks down the food. You get the food into the gut registers that. In the process, the slower you are at eating, the sooner you mentally get filled up. Your fuel tank gets registered in a different way. Now, the legumes, the beans, all of that, all the legumes and all the rice, they make up the difference to actually work to fill you up. And it's a combination of protein, carbs, etc. that we're pulling off the shelf. Now, here's another thing. Everything is getting smaller at Dollar Tree in terms of medical, and this will be true of all the rest of the foodstuffs as we go. The industry is hurting across the board. They're trying to conceal that from everybody, but it's obvious if you pay attention to lack of inventory. So our mission is to, while it is available, just like ammunition. If you had been listening to Uncle Mark, if you haven't been listening to the program here for a while, what have I constantly harped on? There are two things I will harp on almost every program, and I'm going to do it right now again: buy more ammo. Have I not? Did I not tell you? Did I not tell you? Right? Buy more ammo. Back when ammunition A was cheaper only 4 months ago and 6 months ago, but also more readily available. And I even pointed at certain things which, if you bought, you'd be smiling right now. And some of you are. And some of you aren't smiling because Mark's rubbing it in. So, well, it'll be okay because it's going to, not. Now, on that note, with food, it's the same way. Oh, by the way, the other item, you and I both know, I have no faith in the dog filter mass crap because it's total, crushed science. It isn't science. It's witch doctor BS. I'm a firm believer in nuclear, biological, and chemical defense. I don't care what combination of letters you put together anymore. I don't care what the latest jazz is. Why do they even change it up? It's for the sake of making, well, those other guys didn't know because they were practicing NBC. We got, air filtration, water contamination / offensive, weapon system and gaseous form defense. Oh, yeah, you mean NBC, nuclear, biological, and chemical. It's just real simple, right? We can't keep it real simple. Multi-syllable, lots of consonants and vowels, very complicated. Witch doctor science, you just can't understand. No, actually, you really all can. That's the difference between an honest situation and the dishonest witch doctors. And the dishonest witch doctors, I have no use for. We should shoot their ass right now. So, anyway, you need a gas mask, you need a chem suit, you need all the rest of your technology squared away, and really needs to be prepared. And, Craig was talking about this, well, if you understand the filters, this won't do any good against coronavirus or any virus. Well, we've explained to everybody for years, decades, now we're going to do it again, that there are different grades of filters. For 90% of what you're going to have to deal with, the basic filters and the advanced filters that are over the shelf available, now not so much because they're almost all gone, are useful. But if you are not confident and if you need something that's going to be high-end defense, guys, you can go to Grainger right now. I went right to the site and I read off a couple of them the other day. You can go to Grainger Industrial Supply and you can buy the highest grade of defense filter money can buy. And you will need money to buy it, but you can buy it. So, again, for those who don't understand, the mask is not what makes the defense, the defense level. It is the filter. It is the filter. It is the filter. So no matter how old the mask, the filter is the thing that can be easily changed. It's always been that way. And if it's a 40-millimeter filter or built since the 40-millimeter systems have come into play, it will work. Okay, just that simple. So, anyway, enough on that. Again, food, ammunition, and NBC, nuclear, biological, and chemical defense. Now, I mentioned Dollar Tree and harped on them enough. By the way, they don't advertise with us. I'm sure they'd be unfriendly to us if anybody asked any questions, and they hate us. They'd hate us because they figure they were probably being called by leftist, frothing at the mouth Antifa types, which is typical in a communist society that when the commies call, everybody's supposed to fear. So, my basic rule is I don't care who they are. If you can use them until they fall, use them until they fall. And again, the advantage here, I've been able to pick actually something other than China products off the shelf. And that's a big plus as far as I'm concerned. And yes, by the way, somebody just said, Mark, don't forget, the Australian peaches. Well, at least they're from Australia. They have had the larger Australian cans of peaches for $1. The big ones, the real, everybody calls fruit cans or peach cans, the big cans. Anyway, they are out there, but it's catch as catch can. If you're lucky enough and they're in the place where you are, then Dollar Tree sent you some. But if not, well, don't get frustrated. Like I said, the alternative, although you can do the fruit cans that are the smaller 15 ounces, but my choice would be the Musselman of pie filling. You're getting more calories, and you're still getting the same product and spice and flavoring for $1. So just, again, it's in cherry, there's peach, and there's apple. I just got apple the other day. Probably should have bought the whole flat, but I only got so many of them. And again, what I'm just doing is when it comes back, they're in the bag. Those are going to go into the kitty litter bucket. And each time I do a tier, little thing I should mention, I take one of the Dollar Tree, or, well, actually, ideally, Menards bags are heavier. Take a shopping bag, put it in the bottom. Make one layer of the cans. Fit as many in the bottom layer as you can. You want to put some matches in there and Ziploc bags and other stuff, do that. Roll that bag up. Take a piece of cardboard. Put it on top of that. Cut a piece of cardboard to the size of the box. Now, remember, on those kitty buckets, they're tapered. And then put another layer. Do the same thing. Bag, another layer of cans. Then they're usually third layer. Got enough to do another bag with, of course, cardboard in between. And then another bag, more canned goods. Some of the bag goods as in the beans if you want. And roll that up, tie that off. Nothing fancy. The idea is simple. And your 5-gallon pails, you can do the same thing. Make cutouts, pizza cutouts, like pizza boards, circular. And every time you put a layer of cans in, put a buffer cardboard stock in between. And I can even go more sophisticated. When you open up a lot of my cans, we do just like the government did. I learned this years ago. The government had been doing this with the stuff I was opening up. You make a cardboard wraparound on the inside with a cardboard base down below. Then you put your product in. Then you, if you put it in layers, if you're going to have a certain product and it's pre-canistered, like small items, you make a layer so far, put another circle of cardboard in there. And then however many layers, and then another layer of cardboard until you get to the top. Then you put a cardboard cap on it. Then you put the can on. Then you seal it. What you get is buffering, rubber baby buggy bumpers, so to speak, for transport. Something to take into consideration if something needs to be given a little shock absorption. Not critical, but it does work to protect for instance, the cans from clinking top to bottom. Won't do anything sideways, but top to bottom. Again, the idea behind this is the bucket grab and go. Whatever you got, you got. Shut up and go. Here's your bucket, shut up and go. Here's your bucket, shut up and go. That's the purpose. I've done this for years with number 10 cans, with basically 6-pack cans of, one of everything, so that by the time you're done, you got enough food for about a week, depending on how many people you're feeding. And it's a mix of dry goods. Now you take that with one of these buckets with the wet goods, man, you're eating like a king when everybody else is sucking vapors and starving. So just a little heads up. Prior proper planning prevents piss-poor performance, and we're working towards being victorious. We have to have a deep larder. All of you can do some of this. Even if it's just for yourself, that's not a problem. I don't even complain, not even going to, in no way, shape, or form are we going to, make any negative statement. If it's, well, I just have to take care of myself. Yep, you're right. By taking care of yourself, you create a lesser burden for all the rest of us. You see how that works? And so with the situation the way it is, if that's what you can do, that's what you can do, okay? Oh, yeah, baseball bats. So we're almost to the top. I know I harped on the food bit for a bit again, but food and ammunition. let's remember that both food and ammo are weapons. Food, the lack of it, starvation is horrible. The Ukrainian people, which really, they're setting us up like the Ukraine right now, guys. They are doing exactly what they did back with the Ukraine before World War II with the communist Jewish Russians killing the Christian Ukrainians, and especially in mass murders. So I cannot emphasize enough, their food is the first weapon in the inventory. But then if you're ready to continue to breathe and live, they bring the guns out to try and mass execute you or bayonet you to death. So we need the ammunition to make sure we can back up our hind end and keep everybody alive. The government will cooperate with the communists. The police will fully cooperate with the communists once they're in power. They've already done it before, and they had no problem following Obama orders, and in fact to the letter. So I would remind everybody that y'all better be ready for the next level of betrayal. It makes no difference if Trump's in there or not. One way or another, we're hitting the ship. The shipwreck is going to take place on the November window, and that's it. Now, if it lasts a little longer or if it goes a little shorter, the defining point is October. Everybody understand that? That's where the government kicks it off. After that, the rest is history. Somebody's asking about what we're talking about, is our caller brought up the ring type cans, guys, that have the pull ring on the top. Those would be the ones that I would prioritize using. Now, again, he already gave you a little quick trick to help make sure that they don't die as quick. But let's just have a plan in the system so that we can deal with them and we don't lose anything. If they're gone, they're gone. We will be using them for something else. Never throw away the cans. The cans are going to be used for stuff that you throw with a fuse on it and goes boom. Or you throw it and it makes lots of smoke and mess so that it's harder for you to be seen while you try to unask VAO. We're at the top. This hour is gone for the moment. God bless the Republic. Death of the New World Order. We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. We're on the march, and we'll be back in a few minutes here. Second hour coming up. It is Monday on the Liberty Tree Radio with the Intel Report.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12-gauge autoloader,
Sure.
the 45 long slide
Yep.
with laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm
Yes, sir.
phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay, they'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com. That's Maine, like the state, military.com.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we'd hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. Permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear, be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now, as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you. God bless this republic.
the drums. I hear the drums. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Kornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, north, northeast, and south. Ladies and gentlemen, you were listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, IndianaFreedomTalkRadio.com in memoriam, and on the Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube, live feed, live stream. And we are on AM and FM micro stations, AM and FM conventional stations, CB base stations, and Ultra-Net, Hallmark, and Golden Spike technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon and evening to all of our friends out there in lower 49, including the great state of Jefferson, the outlying two states, the territories, all the way out to Guam, and all the way back to Puerto Rico, which is in the same time zone as ourselves, I believe. And then, of course, the date today, well, first of all, the time, it is 6:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Monday. It is the 17th of August. It's the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K. 2020 Old Earth Calendar, 2020 Year of the Dance of Swords. The shipwreck will begin, first with the tearing of the hull, and that will be October, and then the final, disaster, however you want to look at it, with regard to November, the shipwreck. Anyway, I had some questions real quick here. I want to answer some other things from over the weekend, which also came in as emails and or different messages and different systems with all the different unique stuff we do with social media. Number one, swords. Because, well, you think a sword meaning good? Well, call it a machete if you want to. There's a bunch of different utility blades out there that are very well built right now. They're also just crude, rude in terms of finish. Black with a black hand with black grips or brown grips. Ideally, it'd be nice if they had some camo, but they don't. They're usually black with a stainless blade with a matte finish or carbon steel with parkerizing. Either way, there's any number of different types. There's a Spartan sword variant. There's basically the Ontario standard 20-inch and 22-inch blades out there. There's a shorter one that's 10. Doesn't serve as good a purpose, more like a Bowie knife, but it does work. Most of these would serve at the very least as a foliage hacker chopper on the way through the woods, because the quality of the steel, be it carbon steel or stainless, it's tensile strength. It's resilient enough that it can be used for that kind of a mission, but it certainly is a close-quarter combat weapon. The less glamorous machete is an excellent close-quarter, very nasty combat weapon, personal defense weapon, okay? So I'm going to say flat out, yes, buy either a machete, take your pick of flavors, whatever it is your guru might like. The simple Ontario 20-inch machete is a perfect solution. All of them that I carry over the right shoulder, literally with a grip up on the Alice pack. There's a great station for it on the side. It actually slips into. Anybody notice that? Did you notice that there's a spot for actually slipping a blade, a machete in a sheath? So it's also used for other things, like we can use it with a radio bag too. Take the radio bag with the antenna, slide that down inside there, and still use the same hanger, and it works perfectly. Anyway, little trick there. You got that blade right here, literally over your shoulder, so you grab it, you pull it out, keep your head to the left a little bit because you don't want to lose that ear, but it gives you the ability to have another weapon at close hand in the event that you need it. And in some cases, you may not get to what you wanted to get to in the way of a personal weapon, but a long blade with a lot of weight behind it is very, very, very useful at dealing with the problems. So just something to take into consideration. And again, there are a number of other really nice weapons that have been built recently with a number of different cleaving or traditional kukri. These blades are all designed to cut flesh and break bone and cut through bone. The kukri blades. There's a number of different kukri blades out there, from the traditional, which are a little smaller, but not that much. They're actually in the category more, though, the Bowie blade in size. But those are all cleaving blades that do a phenomenal job on people or animal when the time comes. A lot of times they're used for everything. The Gurkhas using the standard kukri, it's the utility everything, but it's sacred, so you're not supposed to just use it for the fun of chopping and hacking. And if it's drawn, there's a little blood chit there, so you have to gack yourself, because if you draw the blade must see blood. I hope you understand that. You're probably not going to do that, though. So anyway, yes, I already carry them. I also carry my for my 1903 Springfield, which also works on any of the Grands I have. I carry a standard sword-length World War I pattern bayonet, and have no problem using it. It's a great close-quarter weapon. It's a good hack and chopper. Most important is, if I need another blade, I carry another blade. Why not? This is America. I'm not restricted. I'm not in the Army. I don't have to worry about somebody's approval. So get over that idea and throw it out the window real quick. You wait. Our table of authorized equipment is a minimum standard, not a maximum standard. Let me help everybody with that. That's a minimum standard. We would hope to do better. You'd hope to actually, get motivated and carry more. Another thing, no, stuff is not getting cheaper. I had a lamentation about elbow and knee pads. The latest stuff coming in, the price got jacked again. Yes, I've noticed across the board, across the market, two things: elbow and knee pads, and also armored gloves. Armored gloves went up again. Why? The Chinese control the market. It's a Chinese market, people. It's not American. That's part of the NAFTA and GATT thing. So a lot of what you're seeing out there is the Chinese lifting the price, and the way they're covering this is they're trying to claim, well, we're not lifting it's the shipping price. Oh my God, I do agree with that, because I've been dealing with the importers most recently, and I've been talking to them. Prices are actually, or technically, no different from what they were 2 years ago. But shipping, which should be cheap, especially since fuel prices have been down, instead has gone the other way. In reality, the communist government of China, which is manipulating most of the market, they've used this math formula to conceal, and then of course create a fog on limitation or finger pointing with regard to why things have doubled and tripled in price. It's part of a formula. It was long planned in advance. It's not new. It's not something where, they just thought this up. No, they didn't. They've actually been, working towards this for a very long time. So the big thing is also watch Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, any of the other sites that you can find where they might have something you need. Yeah, even eBay. I do not go to Amazon, piss on them. Do not go to Walmart, piss on them, unless you can go in and find something that's marked down. And when you can get it for nothing from Walmart, that's the only thing you buy, if you even do that. Because personally, I don't even walk in Walmart right now. If I was in a rush, depending on the situation, like I said, I'll go in to see what they have that is marked down, and then I get stuff from them for $1 an item or $3 an item for clothing. I doubt I'm going to find knee pads or elbow pads. Maybe you will, because they do have a kiddie department, a store department there for bikes and sports goods. So you might find a good buy there. You might. I don't know. I would not recommend black, but black is what you're going to find a lot of in terms of surplus stuff on the market, because it looks cool. Grab it if you have to and go run with it. Remember that the plastic armor will take paint, so you can also color them out a little bit, and you leave the black base, maybe, although hit it with paint, see what it absorbs. The nylon hulls, typically, as far as the mesh goes, the cloth, it doesn't take color well. But the shells will. So if you wanted to camo it out so it matches more up with the gear you got, you can do that, or at least break up the pattern so it's not all black, which is really what you want to avoid. Watching stuff over the weekend, okay, people are going out protesting, counter-protesting Antifa and Black Lives Matter and kill all the white people, militia, whatever. Guys, you don't wear black. You do not wear black. Why are you going? All you're doing is creating confusion. And that's exactly what you got out of the deal. I don't know where are the sergeants. I don't care about officers. Where are the stinking sergeants that should be stepping up? A lot of these people, in fact, claim they were sergeants, and I don't doubt that they were, but I don't know what they were doing as sergeants, because all these operations should be a hell of a lot better squared away in general in terms of material, equipment, and even management in the field, even if it was straw boss operations at the last minute. Things need to get tightened up, okay? But one of the things, all you need, elbow pads for sure, helmets whenever possible. Now, I was watching another discussion this weekend. Always keep an eye on
sergeants were the beer drinker pizza eaters.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't even have a problem with that, provided, if somebody steps up, when you get a bunch of people together, somebody better step up, or somebody better start getting some organization together. And one of the things I would point out right from the get-go, you don't run around in a stupid mob. Okay? 5-man fire. First of all, you want to settle it? 5-man fire teams or 3-man teams. How many people came here together? Raise your hand. How many people are 5 people? Okay, 5 here, 5 here, 5 here. How many people got 3 people? 3 there. Who's got 2? There you go. There's another 5. Now, when you move, you all stick together. You don't break up. You don't say, in other words, who's going to be the straw boss? Notice I didn't say sergeant or corporal or anything. Who's going to be the boss? You're the team leader. 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 Congratulations. We now have 5-man teams and we have a team leader. Now, pay attention. Here's your uber leader. Here's your super team leader. This guy right here. Now, for the 4 of you, he's your primary team leader. That's half a platoon. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, right? 40 people. Oh, forgive me, 20 people. Mark's math better be straight. 20 people, one guy in charge. And give him a couple other people for security. The team leader's got a couple of men. Anybody here got another team? A couple guys came together? Come here. Your job, you're the Praetorian Guard for Bob here. Bob is the team lead, super team leader. All the rest of you team leaders, everybody pay attention. You don't back off without dragging your people back with you or advancing with those people. Don't you worry about somebody else pissfully on the left or the right. You focus on your people and the threat to them. Now, there's 2 fire teams. There's your 2 maneuver elements. One advances to a certain point. The other doesn't stop. The other one advances to a certain point and stop. Real simple, but the team leader is going to be shouting orders to you. The team leader is going to be telling you what to do. You get that much squared away, you totally change the entire operation. You totally change the way people have to look at you, and in fact, they typically can't deal with it. Any kind of cooperation or interactive activity is going to change the battlefield completely. So you all need to be squared away for that. Anyway, and again, body armor. Elbow and knee pads. You can go to Facebook Marketplace. You can go to Craigslist. You can go to any one of the surplus companies. One of the best ones actually has gone offline. I found out they are still in business, but they're not doing their online sales anymore. And I mentioned them for the last couple of years. They had $1.50 a set for elbow pads, military. The only place you're going to find anywhere near that are the surplus from over at Allegheny Wholesale, and a few other locations, but you got to watch and stop shop through all the things that they've got to find the best prices. And it's typically going to be used surplus, which is not a problem. That'll work just fine for what we're doing. Big thing is, don't try to do black if you can help it. If you do get black, break out the spray paint and see how creative you can be. And don't worry about paint chipping. Well, some of the stuff will show through. Who cares? It gives you that battle worn Star Wars lived in effect. But here's the other thing that does. It breaks up your pattern naturally, randomly. That's a good thing. If you really think you're losing too much paint, break out the spray cans, hit it again. That's the wonderful thing about spray paint. You can just keep reapplying, and it won't hurt. It just gives you more protection. More stuff to cover the color. Anyway, another thing here real quick is body armor and plates. I'm going to point something out. Everybody has to have a plate carrier. I want you to look at all of these little battles everybody's getting into. Do you notice how little protection you get from close quarter combat with just a plate carrier? Anybody? Wraparound full body armor is really nice to have, and most everybody has bought into this plate carrier garbage because it's the latest to do, tactical. But you're not in that kind of battle. Okay, most everybody right now thinks they're going to be getting up in somebody's face. Well, guys, that monkey poke and stab into your side of your belly or into the side under your rib cage, it's very embarrassing when that happens. So you're wearing the wrong kit for the environment you're going into. And even so, okay, wear the plate carrier, that's fine, but get yourself some soft armor to go underneath that wraps around everything. I've mentioned this many, many times on the air. I want you to watch some of the fights and stuff that took place over the weekend. Oh, and by the way, baseball bats. Graduating to guns and baseball bats. The bad guys, of course, using more baseball bats. That's okay, provided you properly, think things through. And you're still going to take a hit from baseball bat. But you see, if that is the case, the soft cover looks cool, like a boonie hat. I know, I have thousands of them. I mean, I do. I have thousands of them. And patrol caps, I have thousands of them. And I still have piles of helmets. In fact, I was just going through my non-military helmets today. I think I've got 116 at one location that I counted, off by maybe 2 or 3. And I didn't get through all the boxes yet. Now, of that, these are all the brain bucket types. Most are actually quite military looking. And if they aren't, they got some really cool prints on them, so they'll make you feel like you're in an Aliens movie where everybody has to have a unique helmet or something so you'll know the one character from the other. Everybody has to have a different headdress, so you'll carry, well, the only way you can tell one character from the other, because otherwise they're all wearing the same armor, the same gear, the same uniform, and for the most part you just see their fleshy pink faces and brown faces and Asian faces that are yellow sometimes. But so that's why they need the headdress. You realize that in real life, most of what they're wearing is not really making a whole lot of sense. But it looks cool for the movie, man. Yes, it does, so that you can tell one character from the other. Because otherwise, military uniforms, if done right, you can't tell really one person from the next, and that's not accidental. Ideally, as you will learn in the long run, you don't even want some recognizable rank. This is why Bob, Fred, and whoever, the team leader is the team leader, and he even has to be careful because you don't want to be flailing your arms around a lot. You want to, in fact, establish as much SOP as possible, because flailing your arms around and pointing and doing a lot of things draws attention to you and probably means you'll get a bullet sooner rather than later. You ever think about that? Just things to wonder about with regard to the way the battlefield works. There are priority on targets, and management's one of them. Let's just go into that point here. In the Rhodesian military, if you know any guys that have survived that, they went so far as to make sure that, there wasn't even a radio operator per se. In the later, more successful stages where they fought the guerrillas to a standstill, they eradicated the radio operator, and here's two arguments for this. Number one, if you're leading a tactical unit and it's a special warfare unit, aren't you supposed to be strong enough that you can carry the radio yourself? If you needed a radio, you're the one carrying it. Oh, well, that eliminates this hand reach, stuff. Now, it doesn't mean there weren't other ROs in the unit, because you still have to have a radio operator to talk to, higher command. And your radio is talking to your command and to cooperative units that may be moving with you, okay? But you're your own radio operator. That was a school where I came from. That was one of the things eventually I learned that, hey, that's really not a bad idea. However, I started out many times in different combat groups, different fighting groups, carrying the weapon as a primary RO. And radio operators are standard in the norm, still the military at this point, to a degree. Remember, they've made radios smaller. So in reality, Johnny Jet Jock, the captain, actually is supposed to carry his own radio, and typically is. But then again, so is everybody else. So that's one of the things first they learned is, eliminate a whole lot of that motion. Also, SOP, standard operating procedure. Try not to give any more orders than is absolutely necessary. In fact, they should be minimized. Everything at all, when at all possible, should be SOP, standard operating procedure. You do not have to give an order. Everybody already knows the action. Everybody knows everybody else's mission. Everybody knows everybody else's job. So that when the time comes, you can reintegrate or move people around, and they should still have enough brain and gray matter between their ears that you should be able to pick up on pretty well the whole system and how to make it work. The big thing is that whenever possible, don't try to issue orders, because people will wait for you and expect for you to give them the next time something of the same sort of activity crops up. Standard operating procedure when you come to a halt. What do you do? Standard operating procedure when called into motion. What do you do? What is the standard operating procedure? Let me give you an example. One part of SOP that most of you have been trained in, 10-yard/10 meter spacing between each individual. That's standard. However, you ever tried to keep a unit at actual tactical distance? Do you know what kind of a fight we have on that? Do you know how hard that is? Watch your spacing. How many of you have heard that if you listen to any real tactical videos that have been done? Watch your spacing. Check your distance. Confirm. And it's something that everybody has a tendency to, not necessarily think through all the way. Realize that this is an issue. It is a problem. It is something that needs to be dealt with on a regular basis. Even though SOP exists, there still is a need for Sarge, for him to speak up and actually get you to do the right thing or to motivate you because you need to be reminded. Now, part of that usually has to do with fatigue. But, again, SOP is a critical element, standard operating procedure, a critical element that you need to establish within your team. And that's what I'm talking about. For instance, all these rallies and everything else, they still want to be a stinking rabble. And there's no reason to be a rabble. We got the thinkers, they got the stinkers. Well, supposedly. So these people better start stepping up and, motivating people to get things done right. Especially critical there. Now, another thing, I've had a lot of comments on helmets I mentioned earlier. Here's the other problem. Cheap helmets, there aren't any, at least none like there were. Oh, that's right, 3 and 4 months ago when Uncle Mark was telling you to buy, just like vests. They're very cheap vests. You could add that wraparound Kevlar vest to go to the party with out there on the street for $30 or $40 or $50 at the most. Try and find that now. Where did they all go? In fact, remember all those really cool tactical Polish and Czech vests? Where did they all go? Well, you guys bought them up. In fact, I have 4 or 5 right now that are waiting in the wings that probably are going to be allocated to another unit because we got them when they were cheap, like I told you guys to. And if you did it, congratulations. If not, well. There are still some other items that are popping out, and in fact, keep an eye on Sportsman's Guide. They're buying from Sturm. Sturm is one of the companies that seems to have had a pretty good collection of the armor come in. I think the reason that it's coming in from overseas is because the next generation of newer armor is dominating the market because of its price, and the older armor is just not as in vogue. Plus, they've written so many articles about plate carriers and minimizing armor that that's going to be popular until we start taking casualties. And then all of a sudden, government's going to rediscover the idea that we need to do full armor and wrap around and, throat protection and a little better head protection because the crap they're wearing right now is going to be a real problem. Yeah, don't worry. We've seen it all before. It's the same scam. They run it over and over again. However, for you guys looking for an affordable and decent steel pot, nothing fancy, don't expect it to stop 50 caliber. If you do, you're in the wrong school. But there are some 1 or 2 items over at gunpartscorp.com. I want to mention those anyway today. www.gunpartscorp.com. Let's go to gunpartscorp.com for a minute. Helmets. Why? Well, because your skull is actually pretty strong, but still a lot of things will perforate it. Wood, steel, fiberglass, concrete, rocks thrown. Okay, there's all kinds of stuff that branch at 2 o'clock in the morning you didn't know was at forehead height. Oh! You know, he just went out for the count. Well, you want to avoid that. So here's the thing. If you go over to gunpartscorp.com and then go to their military surplus, they have military, well, here, let's do it this way. Go to gunpartscorp.com, www.gunpartscorp.com, www.gunpartscorp.com, gunpartscorp.com. When you get there, you're going to go over to that black line at the top. It says Shop by Manufacturer, Shop by Category, Gun Magazines. There's the one I want, Military Surplus. Tag Military Surplus. When you do that, a bunch of inventories come down. Over on the left side, there is military helmets and liners. Now, they do have some other stuff that's newer and a lot of stuff that's German World War II. It's neat. Actually, you can take those World War II helmets, but they're too expensive right now. There's been some surplus ones for, actually some reproduction surplus ones for less. But you could take that Fritz helmet from World War II, put the U.S. Kevlar helmet cover on it, get the large, put it on the medium, it'll stretch out. It'll look just like a Kevlar helmet. You can't tell the difference. Wow, that's kind of scary. No, it's not. Anyway, there are some helmets on the front. Helmet covers are a little pricey. It used to be we get them for 10 cents and 15 cents and $1. You know that if you've been listening to the program. But that's not the case anymore. So we're going to go to page 2. You know, do. We're going to go to page 2. And they have Swedish M37-65 helmet, olive drab, steel. Very good to excellent condition. I have had some of these. They are in excellent condition other than just bounce wear from being in a crate where they scuff against each other. And $12.95 a piece, and you'll probably have a $2 shipping surcharge on those. Now, that's an excellent helmet. The price is good. The sizes are mostly medium, and then there are some larges, and there are some smalls that tied in. But they are a decent helmet, okay, for the price. $12.95. They are a Swedish military, a variation. The Model 29 I've worn before. I rang that sucker like a gourd when I smacked my head into a branch at 2 in the morning. And, yeah, it still banged me, but, you know, as far as, oh, wow. But no gack to the head, no blood, no stitches. Helmets are nice in that respect. So I don't care if you get the soccer helmet, the riot helmet, the hockey helmets that make you feel like you're with the Delta Force. Or something like this. This is a good solution. It is a metal pot, and the price is right. In fact, I'm ordering some of these shortly, but it's $12.95 a piece, and if you pay attention on that page I took you to, right next to it, police, ride helmet, light duty, excellent condition, $12.50. So if you were looking for a, again, brain bucket size helmet, these are, again, $12.50, and those two are the most affordable helmets on the shelf right now with any of the companies I've seen. And both of these are service military helmets or service police helmets. Now, I'd like to find more of the last one that's listed on the page, but it's been out of stock everywhere, is a Swiss M71 Army helmet. They are an excellent ballistic helmet, even though they're steel. They are one of the highest rated helmets in their category, and I would recommend it if you could get them. If you see one at a yard sale, the Swiss M71 US Army helmet, they're Swiss, OD green, typically steel with leather suspension, obviously. They are built like a brick doghouse. They will run, and they run well, but they will stop small arms fire. Again, in most places they're out of stock. The only place you'll find those is over a major surplus, and they want a lot more than $24 for those. So, but anyway, one more time, Gun Parts Corp, go over to surplus, go over to helmets and goodies, and Swedish M37. It's on the second page for helmets. Swedish M37-65 helmet, olive drab, steel, very good to excellent condition. Most all of them I've gotten so far have been excellent, but very good is fine by me too. $12.95 a piece. There is a little extra charge for shipping. If you put enough items on the list, you get free shipping over at Gun Parts Corp. The other option, if you don't want the steel but you still want the bounce, police ride helmet, light duty, excellent condition, $12.50. That would work just fine. By the way, you can take that and put a camel paint on it, whatever you want to do. That'll make it disappear. On the other hand, you might want a blue with more blue, with maybe whatever you're trying to look. Maybe you're wearing black uniform, blue helmet, trying to look like the riot police that are there. And yeah, they do have the visors too, by the way. That's down below. So a solution, rather than lamenting about the problem, for somebody asking, that's the helmet I recommend right now for the price. If you're looking for just something that's going to be a good, again, brain bucket to protect you from perforations, hard objects, bounces well when you hit something, better than your skull does, that would be it, because it's also a good price. You can buy two of the price for the price of any of the others. Now, I will say something. If you got a U.S. piss pot and if you can get more, you got them for a good price, maybe that price or less, you see them at a yard sale for $5 or something, grab them. The U.S. military piss pot, the U.S. M1 rifle, rifleman's helmet, is an excellent helmet. It's just that they want, like you can see anywhere from, well, just for the steel pot, they may charge you anywhere from $25 to $30 to $50. And there are the French copies, there's the Danish copies, there is a German copy, and I have bought hundreds, if not thousands, of the German copy that look just like the U.S. piss pot, made for the Bundeswehr. Hail the Wehrmacht, the Bundeswehr, yeah. Those helmets are heavier than sin, and they are ballistic helmets too. That's why they're so heavy. So again, you pay for, you're going to pay for certain potential. The U.S. piss pot is a ballistic helmet. What do you think that? Why do you think they put that liner in there? Do you think they put that in there for the fun of it? They could have made a helmet just like everybody else, and what we did, even with the World War I pattern or World War II pattern, others that had the stamped and pinned in helmet net for laying your head inside that bucket, and gone with something cheaper. The U.S. M1 helmet was thought out as a ballistic system. The reason those liners last forever, they are a ballistic resistant / inner shell protection system. It's a system. It's not just a helmet, okay? But again, now they're World War II, or oh my God, it's Vietnam. And as soon as you hear that it's the Vietnam collector thing now, and it's why you're getting gouged. Because everybody's looking for something that either is or close enough no one will know the difference. And usually what they tell the guy is, well, if you can't afford this, get one of these because it's close enough and nobody will say anything. And that way you'll look like just put a Vietnam helmet cover on it and you're fine. So that's why the U.S. piss pots have gone where they are. Otherwise, they were cheap for a while. I know a lot of people that complained to me about it because they were buying it from us when we were buying them cheap, okay? But anyway, I harped on helmets for a while, but I had to do that because I had so many questions, and then I'll answer it on the air, and whatever else floats your boat, whatever you want to do, whatever you can spend money on. If your whole group is going to go upper end these new militia steel helmets, anybody see those? They're firing at point-blank range or close to point-blank range with 9mm 40 caliber, and the bullets are bouncing off. The helmet stops them. I won't say bounce off, but sometimes. But the fact of the matter is they're doing forehead shot, and it would ring your gourd, but the bullet's not getting through. So there are new helmets. However, I would point out, look at the weight. Let's understand when you start doing that, when you start looking at that kind of protection, which, by the way, if you can afford it, run with it, but you also have to be able to afford to carry it. So just understand that there's, the other half of the formula is very critical. How much does it weigh? Because that's what's going to smack you in the beaner in the other direction. Oh, my God. Well, more in the wallet. Bite you in the arse. Another thing here real quick. Yes, gas masks. Still, Gun Parts is the best place for gas masks. You got a helmet? Might as well buy a gas mask while you're there. And they have the Serbian taking the 60mm filter. They've got them in stock for $14.95. However, if you're saying, oh, I don't like the European or the foreign ones, you can go a few steps over when you get into the gas mask and NBC technology over at Gun Parts. They have the gas mask, M9A1, U.S. military surplus, lens cleaning kit, canvas bag, everything is in the ham tin. The stuff has been sealed for a very long time, and it's virtually brand new in the can. So that's American standard, American best. So if you want to go, look at the M9, look at the copy with the M1 Yugo. Oh, yeah, they look the same. Yes, they're very much the same, to the point where, again, the basic pattern for training, the filters are interchangeable, the whole 9 yards. So if you know how to use one, you know how to use the other. If you want to spend $36, that's a good price for an American gas mask made here in our system, okay? Next, and again, I haven't looked myself, so I'm going to check while I'm over here. It looks like the chem suits are sold out over at Gun Parts. I had people asking, where was that Norwegian suit? Well, this is where it was, and it looks like somebody realized that was a full camouflage, modern Norwegian NBC suit, and they bought them out. They are gone. They are not there anymore. Hasta la Winnebago and the Coachman camper, too. One other thing, as BK brought up many times, over there they have for the same gas mask that I just mentioned, they've got a case of filters, 45 filters for $163.75. Filter canister, new, unissued, for Finish M61 or for the M9 or for anything that takes a 60-millimeter filter. And that's 45 in a sealed case for $163.95. I just got a case here a couple months ago. Came very quickly, very happy with what I got, and I got it just the beginning of the Corona beer virus scam. And I'm going to probably order another here shortly, too, because I just got some more masks. If you got more masks, you always want more filters while you can get them. So, next, another couple things. Let's see, we had the other question. Yeah, I know. The latest thing is now apparently, I don't know if everybody has seen this, I've already mentioned that since we have this whole thing with the mail-in option for absentee ballot, which was sent to everybody in the state of Michigan, well, now the latest story, and I know I'm shifting gears from helmets, we're going to something else. Now the latest story is that the U.S. Post Office is siding against Trump, and that they're going to be providing all kinds of support like they did when Hillary was running for Biden and the crew, and they're actually tainted and angled. Well, as it stands, with the situation the way it is, I can't emphasize enough that it is going to get really bad before it gets better, but it is not an if, it is simply a when everything goes the rest of the way. So the only thing I can say on that note is, with regard to the action, is pay attention, stay focused, and as I tick off the days, I'm going to be touching on the subject step by step by step. Another case, and I want to make sure I get this right before I go any farther here. Yeah, Sarah Connor, I know. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I can't go there until we actually get more of a report. We actually are tracking another foreign unit, foreign troop unit, which is probably part of an extension of what's going on with Northern Strike 2020, because part of that's already taking place. But as it stands, it looks like we have an extension, a holdover, which means that this is on the way usually that they have a retainer of foreign troop manpower inside the United States, okay? And that seems to be the case, similar to what we've seen with the field exercise / training ops that they did out in oh, really? With the training exercises that they did out in the Plain States. So, even as I mentioned this, somebody shot me 3 videos from the 2020 collage that's over on YouTube. I've seen some of those. Yes, I appreciate that. For anybody who wonders what I'm talking about, real quick, qualification. Northern Strike has been going on for decades. They tried to claim it didn't exist. Michigan State Police claimed it wasn't happening. Foreign troops in Michigan soil. Lo and behold, they've been lying the whole time until they figured they could get away with it and be comfortable because everybody's been stupefied. If you look at last year's exercise, they boasted, although since we've talked about this, you'll notice that they've slid some of the videos overseas to, they're still on YouTube, but they're with the foreign troops. That's the only way you're going to see any of what we were talking about with regard to the deployment. And some of it, of course, is just over the water in Canada. Canadian forces and several of the foreign forces are there for Northern Strike 2019. Well, Northern Strike 2020 has been taking place, and the extension of it, there are three sub-elements to Northern Strike 2020 that we're not supposed to know about. The covert piece that they're throwing out there to cover most of the operations is the conventional Northern Strike FTX/exercise. However, there are a number of other different telltales, much as we've seen in the past out in the Plain States with the long-term deployment of UN troops inside the country, that indicates that they are garrisoning up or utilizing the facilities that they already have here to build up strength inside the state of Michigan. And, of course, it is August, September, October, November. I doubt that they're going to want to be 3-4 months in advance, so let's just figure that whatever they're thinking of doing is going to be within, a 60-day window. But as it is, the original, of course, routine is that, this is a 2-week, like summer training drill exercise, 5 weeks long, 6 weeks long, 7 weeks long, 8 weeks long. Oh, wait a minute, that's not what they originally, wait a minute, that's nothing like what they claimed. Well, that's exactly the point. And so as it stands, with the situation continuing to develop, yeah, as a matter of fact, forgive me, somebody just sent me another bundle. Yeah, some of the better videos are actually British. I don't know if the Brits are supposed to be doing this or not. Well, obviously they think it's cool. But the British videos that are available on YouTube will give you a better perspective on just what level of foreign operations and activities. They tried to slow-mo it on the National Guard end with Michigan. In other words, they've tried to de-emphasize the foreign troops. Now, especially between last year and this year. And last year was the largest deployment of Canadian forces in Michigan ever. And it was a complete battle group. They even bragged that up. We right now believe it's comparable, if not larger still. So that's why I think they're downplaying, because they really don't want any emphasis in light of the fact that they think they're going to catch us flat-footed. That's not going to happen. Everybody's pretty well monitoring all the rally points. We know where their garrison points are. And there's another thing that has changed, and I can say this much. We know that they've increased fuel storage at all depots for supporting these units. Now, this in fact is more of the supply and support. I've always told you guys, logistics, the key to victory. They are setting up what are the equivalent to typically what we would see in Iraq, or what we saw in like the deployments in Syria, where you have a POL, petroleum oil lubricant points, that are quite in depth, but they're again tactical. They're not traditional, in American standard by all the restrictions that are put on you and me. These are battlefield type deployments of petroleum oil lubricant products, supply and support, and also tactically dispersed food supplies and reserves. And that has been done not simply for short-term 1 week or 1.5 week or 2 week training operations, but just what we know has already been received. It's quite extensive, leading up to anywhere from a 2 to 3 month deployment. So this again would be, if it's a 3-month deployment, okay, 90 days, that's a quarter. Okay, basically the equivalent would be about a quarter of a year, a quarter deployment, and they will come in quarter increments. So what we're watching now is to see how long it takes before the next line of supply trucks shows up. And since we know where all the locations are, it's pretty easy to benchmark. I don't care if they try to use passive civilian transport or plain Jane military, stuff that's been disguised. No matter how we look at it, it is going to, it is going to continue to, I think, expand as we move week by week. And then they progressively admit that they're expanding the foreign forces on American soil. So just a heads up on that one, something we're constantly keeping an eye on stuff like this. They come and they go. Mostly they stick around. They don't really go. And this time around, they're sticking around, more so than we've seen in the past, and for quite a few years. So, let's see, next, and I had another request. Okay, with regard to material support, and again, short list. Somebody's asking, well, Mark, okay, what should I have for personal protection like that? What you're talking about? Okay, it's really straightforward. Okay, I'm going to repeat this again. Elbow pads, knee pads, a helmet, whatever you're going to come up with, try to make it a unit standard. At the very least, try to maintain colors, okay? In the process, unbelievable. In the process, then also body armor. And with body armor, one of the most important things taken into consideration there is, again, weight restriction. What can you carry? If it was a choice between heavy plate, single short and narrow area plate coverage, and wraparound body armor, personally right now it's wraparound body armor. And there's another reason for this, because if you watch what just happened over the weekend with the car shootings, the truck shootings, like I told you, pay attention. Your enemy is using the monkey poke, shoot from behind routine, or they'll try to block people and drag them and then beat them down. Guys, if you're serious about moving in an area, you need to be properly kitted out, armored out, protected, and ready to roll. It's just that simple. And it's not hard to do, but the big thing is you're going to have to make a commitment to certain technologies. Now, the body armor, guys, make sure the body armor is slick side smooth. If you want to go that plate carrier, the plate carrier goes over with all your tactical gear, goes over your soft armor. Even if it's only level 1 stab armor, that's fine. What we'll want is something so you got more over your hide, more coverage and area. With the shock plate, understand with the front and back armor plates, well, you know what? The soft armor offers that much more protection. As something gets dimpled or stippled, guess what? The soft armor is going to still do its job beyond whatever the steel plate couldn't do. And maybe just enough to finish stopping what was trying to plow through your vest, if that is the case. Not going to stop everything. There is nothing that's bulletproof. Notice I keep repeating this, and you better remember it too. There is only bullet resistant. And at some point, flawed material, proper energy, bullet spin, God, there are so many parts of the formula that they don't tell you about, where just because you're in that cherry location and because of where the stuff hits, it may plow right on through and come to visit the Soft Chewy Center anyway, okay? They don't talk about that, but that's part of the reality of the engineering processes with regard to body armor in general. So we need soft armor first. We want to make sure that we square that away. And then we want plate armor over top if that's what you want to do. And I understand that is the in vogue. That is the tactical way to go. And then you run from there. And beyond that, it's catcher's choice. Again, knee armor, elbow armor, something for the head. Armored gloves, you can go a number of different ways, and that's a personal flavor choice. And yes, it's a good idea. If you're older, you're not going to take any hit well. I don't care who you are. You are not going to take any hit well. You're going to start, your performance level is going to go down as more wear and tear on parts takes place. If you're younger, we're going to save you from more pain when you get older. Wear elbow and knee armor wherever you can. Put something on your beaner so you bounce better. At the very least, you got that basic in place, you're in good shape. If you can't afford armor right away, I pointed you towards a cheap helmet. There are other things out there you can buy. In elbow armor and knee armor, it's the same way. So you figure out what fits your budget, or if you shop around long enough, you can compare notes and find what is probably the best price. There's a lot of used Coyote Brown armor coming out for the elbow and knee pads. Good enough for what it's for. ACU pattern, same way. Good enough for what it's for. And again, under $5 a set. In fact, usually, if you're really lucky, under $2 or about $2 a set. What you save there, now you can spend more money on the other stuff you don't have. I'm more concerned with the idea you get something affordable. You will not wear it out. And by the time you do, well, then guess what? You're picking off the enemy, or we're going to provide you with better supply and support in the long run. Okay? Yeah, last bit. Okay. Yeah, on the color, hey, you're going to have to figure out what color should I buy? Well, where do you live? Okay, what's your area of operation? That basic rule, how are you going to determine what does what? You have to look in the area of control, where area of operation, area of activity. What is the dominant color shading and range that should work for you? Okay, if you're in the West, Coyote Brown is a good utility color. ACU is not that bad for the very bottom of Arizona and New Mexico. You can actually make it work in some places because the nature of the subsoil and the terrain and the rock and the grit is such that it actually works quite well. I've seen it. I mean, it actually is rather fascinating to look at. However, there are other options, and the Coyote Brown is something I've been buying a lot of simply because it's been cheap. I'll tell you, I've mentioned it on the air, quite honestly. Does it work here? Yeah, the Earth Brown, Coyote Brown works just fine. They give it different names for it. And you mix it up with other gear, and on your tactical rig, it'll blend well. It actually creates its own camo pattern. The other thing is, again, with regard to the armor, is it is sized, so pay attention there. But for all you ladies, especially since a lot of you girls are petite, there is a ton of stuff that will fit you. I mean, there is stuff piled up like cordwood. You people should be, it's funny and sad, but it has been true for a long time. If we have smaller people, they're usually better equipped than the bigger people from surplus. Why? Because that's the sizes that are usually available. Smalls and mediums and smalls, and even extra smalls. So I don't care. Again, all of our people should be protected. All family members, all the items I listed, if you can, you try to accumulate them for all family members so that everybody has the same protection, has the same look, and that means friend, foe. It's a lot easier to identify who you need to shoot when the time comes. Just some of the things taken into consideration. Anyway, we are at the top. We are going to be hearing the music in a minute. Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube. Liberty Tree Radio on YouTube. That's our Liberty Tree Radio channel. We are, of course, on live right now. In addition to that, you can go to libertytreeradio.4mg.com, www.libertytreeradio.4mg.com, and you can get all the rest of the information how to hook up, just in case that YouTube feed is a problem or something else goes hiccup on us. Remember, have a backup to a backup to a backup to a backup. God bless our republic. Death to the New World Order. We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. We're on the march. We're going to get out of the way for a little bit. An hour break. Ed taking over. More live radio coming up here, and we will be back at 8 o'clock for the evening Intel Report. God bless. Bye-bye.
Its roots with tea, and the sun will always shine on the old Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the piper boys, we were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper boys beneath the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree, and we are the sons.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12 gauge autoloader,
Sure.
the 45 long slide
Yep.
with laser sighting,
You betcha.
the Uzi 9mm
Yes, sir.
phased plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay. They'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
We all need to prepare ourselves. You might have the food, water, gold, and silver, but ask yourself, are you truly prepared? That's why you need to visit MaineMilitary.com. MaineMilitary.com carries everything you need. Gas masks, fire starter kits, high-capacity magazines, chemical suits, military surplus items, and much more. Do you own a firearm? MaineMilitary.com has a large selection of pistols and rifles suited for your needs. Are your local stores sold out of ammunition? Call or visit them today for prices on hard-to-find ammo and bulk ammo orders. You don't need to worry about having a military surplus store in your area because MaineMilitary.com is the only store you'll ever need, all from the comfort of your computer. Visit them online today at MaineMilitary.com.